Greetings everyone and welcome to the BlastCast. I am Jarrus, and with me as always is the man who wakes up screaming 30,000 disconnect error! Lightning Dragon.
Yeah, that was real fun. Spend all that time to get there and
Spoilers!
then, nope.
Spoilers! More to come on that during the week. Alright, this week on Around the Verse, the Origin Series ships were covered, starting with the new 100i starting ship. There's three models, the 100i, the 125A, and the 135C.
C stands for cargo.
I don't want to know what A stands for.
Attack?
Yeah, we'll go with that. Now, one of the things that's exciting about this particular series of ships is that it's going to help design the redo. The aesthetic is going to help design the redo for the 300 series. And that's a series that's needed a severe overhaul for quite some time.
Yeah, when the backers go, hey, here's how you fix the ship and make it amazing. And that was like 3 or 4 years ago now, and it still has the same one. It's a little embarrassing.
Yeah, I don't take my 350R out anymore because, well, for a couple of reasons. One, if I can't do cargo missions with it because if you climb up on the ladder, you drop the package.
That's
and
nice.
Sometimes when you climb into the ship, it kills you. So those are two really good reasons.
Just like if you touch the glass on the...
Yeah, on the
what is it?
reclaimer.
The reclaimer, yeah.
Yeah.
You touch the ship and it kills you. It's funny too because you mentioned that the 300 series, right? That was the original package ship that I bought because I didn't want the Aurora and I didn't want the Mustang or the Hornet. I didn't have the Mustang when I backed.
Yeah.
And the funniest thing is, like when they came out with the Ghost variant, it's like I want the Ghost variant mostly just because it's black.
Yeah, but it's stealthy. I think that would suit you too.
Yeah, it's in one of my alleys.
The defining difference with the 100 series is that they're built in with a refinery, a small refinery that allows them to scoop a wider range of gases in order to allow them to travel further than your other standard starting ships. Now, this is going to be on pledge until April 30th, 2018. But what I like about this is it kind of creates a nice triad, if you will, of ship choices for people who just buy the game later on, like after the game launches.
Tank, DPS, and healer. But wait, all we have is DPS.
I'll say, let's say like cargo, fighter, and explorer, because the 100 series is going to give you that extra range to go further and do different kinds of jobs, but less cargo than an Aurora, and probably about the same cargo as a Mustang, but at the same time,
The gun selection is pretty poor.
right, the gun selection is weaker on this particular series of ships. So there's a nice balance of choice. Always a good thing when you start a game and allow someone to find a ship, or at least pick a ship that's going to be more geared to what their long-term goals are. They also went over the Origin 600i, my baby. Now the 600i was increased in size from the original 61 meters to 91.5 meters. This is a shout out to Teller, who called that on day one when they released that 3D model.
Oh, what a shock! Star
Yeah,
Citizen large ships have to get bigger.
Oh yeah, he had taken, and if you haven't seen Teller's channel on YouTube, I do recommend searching him out. He will take the models of ships and then like display them compared to other ships. And what he did is he showed the interior that they showed, and then placed it inside the ship and said, no, this won't work. And he kind of stretched it out until everything fit. And he goes, right there, he said it was like a little over 90 meters. And it's like, it has to be at least as big. And that was like day one, so good job, sir. The cockpit canopy, of course, does not have struts anymore. Now, that's a weird thing, though. This is like the one ship I looked at it, I never thought the struts were an issue. I was like, oh, there's some struts way over on the side where I'm not looking
Struts
anyway.
are always an issue.
Well, I mean, you'd have to turn your head way to the right for it to be an issue. But hey, more visibility, fine. It's like, I think it's funny because I have a lot of ships, Razor, that have things like right in your face and you can't see. That seems to be okay with some people, but having struts way up to the right was like an issue for others. There's like this weird inconsistency there.
I don't know if the Hornet Ghost model has been updated or not, but
Yeah, it
there's
has.
some pretty big pylons in that canopy. They're not giant. I mean, they're not as big as they used to be, but they're very noticeable.
I think the entire Hornet line was updated, even the Super Hornet, but I'm just waiting to be able to use my coupon so I can use the military body variant.
It's like
on that.
me and Retaliator. It's you and that coupon.
Oh yeah, tell me about it. That's my big thing right there. Well, that's one of my. Add it to the list.
It's one of the things on your top 10 list.
Yeah, definitely. I've had a thing
top
forever.
15.
I have a feeling though when I can use that coupon, there's gonna be a lot of people mad on the forums that they missed out on it all those years ago.
Oh jeez, I remember there was a D&D game I played ages ago. Oh no, nerd! And there was a class that they didn't know how to balance it for the game, and so basically it's like no one can play this class, and so it's like, okay, well, you can take one level of it, but you know, until we figure out what we're gonna do, you know, you can only have the one level. So I was it was Red Dragon was what it was. So I was like 5 Bard and 1 Red Dragon, so I was level 7 on this like moderately high level area, and I played that character for months, and they finally were like, oh okay, well I guess we're gonna unlock it for you because, you know, obviously you're sticking around or whatever. And I had so much experience from running around and just like playing with other people or whatever that I got like 5 more levels. So I instantly went from like 7 or something to like 10 or 11, and the second I had it unlocked, everyone was like, oh, why does that person get it? That's not fair. It's like, because I was like never got any experience or levels for like 6 months. And so basically the DMs and stuff were like, people are kind of upset about that. Would you mind like making a different character? And it's like, oh, it sucks. But I did because I got something better out of it.
Now the 600i is going to be used as a style guide for future larger Origin ships, including the 890 Jump. And it's going through its final art passes and beginning tech design work. Now for me, when I ordered this ship, when I had the concierge early ordering, name reservation, one of the things that appeals to me about the ship is that it's going to say Citizen Gamer like right on the side, which of course probably will make me a target in the persistent universe.
You're already a target.
Yeah, I'm already a target anyway. But the point is, though, there's like a personalization on this ship that I really look forward to. And, well, it's a little bit, I mean, I don't often agree with Disco Lando, but we're going to go ahead and agree this time. I look at it as like the Lando Calrissian's Lady Luck kind of thing for the verse, and it does about everything. I mean, it has an automated rear turret, so it doesn't require a lot of extra manpower to go with you. It's got a ground vehicle inside of it, or at least it will.
Eventually.
And, yeah, right now, that's the big problem with ground vehicles, is you can't just load the ship and say, I want this vehicle in the cargo bay before it spawns. That's one of the issues. But once that's resolved, you know, that's good there. And it's also modular, so if I want to make it just a luxury variant, I'm sure down the line that's going to be available to us. So, great ship. I'm really looking forward to flying this.
Isn't it kind of already a pseudo-luxury ship?
It is, but it'll be even more luxurious if I go ahead and swap out from the exploration stuff.
Ah, so dead animal skins and everything all over the place?
I'm hoping for pool table.
or cards.
Ooh, yeah, poker. And the last part of the show was about the Avenger. Now, Lightning and I agree the Avenger is one of the best ships that you can get in the game, and now it's only going to be better.
Oh, yeah, I really kind of want one, but you have one, don't you, still?
I have 2.
Oh, well, there we go. So I don't even need one.
Yeah, I have the Warlock and I have the Titan.
Is Titan the base model?
The Titan's the base model because I didn't care to have my cargo hold filled up with basically bounty hunting prison cells.
Yeah, until they have a system where you can strip things out, it's kind of just a waste of space.
Exactly. You know, unless of course you're into bounty hunting, then it's not.
Well, we don't even have bounty hunting mechanics yet, so it's again still a waste.
I guess. Now, the reason that they did a resize of the ship was that the old version was too small. It was too difficult for your characters to move from the front to the back of the ship. And now this new version, you should be able to get through without having to crouch or go through a lot of wonky animations. There's probably going to be an animation at the front where you step up just to deal with that little ridge, but even the bedroom, everything, it seems more like a self-contained unit, more like a hole drilled in the wall and a bed thrown in there. So the whole thing seems to be a lot more put together, and the outside, they've retained an aesthetic that's made to look a lot like today's modern space shuttle. They wanted to have that kind of texturing, that kind of panel look on it, and
not
it
so
looks
modern
amazing.
Anymore, but not so modern anymore. The shuttle was made in like the 80s.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying it's a throwback to that kind of style, and
and it's a good style.
Oh yeah, and I really appreciate it. You know, the little penguin that could is just an amazing ship. And if there's a first ship you can upgrade from a starter ship, just for a few extra bucks, I always tell anyone, just go ahead and get an Avenger.
Yeah, it's the ship that can pretty much do anything.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of those things like I have a Hornet Ghost, right? But it's a fighter. And with what we're going to be talking about here in a minute, if the Avenger can do that, which is in regards with the fuel system, that'll make it even more versatile, and I'll probably get one after you can buy them with UEC.
Now, the Avenger rework is nearing completion. They need to continue to work on the LODs and an audio pass. Alright, so there was a post put out onto CIG's main website talking about a change in the fuel mechanics. Now, this change, in my opinion, was kind of inevitable. The link will be down below.
Making me think of Star Wars quotes.
Is your destiny?
No, it is inevitable.
Oh, okay. Well, the thing is that ships are going to be limited with a finite amount of fuel now. Not just a boost fuel, but overall fuel. And of course, boosting and things like that will burn up that fuel faster. Now, this is where the mechanics for like the 100i series or the 100 series from Origin come in, and also of course ships like the Starfarer, the Vulcan, other things like that. Because the way they were doing it before, people that had fuel harvesters or people who could deliver fuel, there was very little need for them to be out there. Because all you had to do was kind of just not boost for a while and you were okay, with the exception of quantum fuel, of course. Now, how this works is that the fuel intake scoops natural gases from the environment and funnels them into the ship. Now, depending upon the level of gas concentration in the area that you are will affect how fast you're able to gather.
So just stay behind Jarvis and you'll have full tanks
exactly.
all the time.
You will be filled up in like 30 seconds. I don't care what you're flying. Fuel tanks used in regular space may only get a very, very, very small amount. So I would imagine that as they bring in things like Nebula and things like that, this could be your ideal place for filling up, which is amazing because I can think of so many sci-fi things, don't do Riker maneuver, where basically gases are used in a way to refuel ships.
Not to mention atmospheres and gas giants and things like that.
Oh yeah, of course, obviously. Now the gases are converted into a plasma. The fuel intakes do a basic conversion, and they're limited on the kinds of gases that they can use. Now, higher quality or different kinds of refineries will provide more conversion options, and then that gas is converted into a plasma and stored into a fuel tank. And that was previously called the hydrogen fuel tank. So I think the idea of a plasma tank makes more sense than a hydrogen one. I think that's fine.
It's kind of the concept of ion drives.
Yeah, exactly. It gives the... If the engines were just hydrogen engines, it doesn't make a lot of sense. But going for ion drives, okay, cool. I'm down with upgrading that lore.
It's basically the same concept anyway.
Yeah, but just a little more advanced. Now, these tanks can only store one type of plasma at a time. So if you're currently gathering something and you've been using something your tank's half filled with, I don't know, let's just use hydrogen because it's out there, and you come across, I don't know, chlorine out in a nebula, you're not going to be able to utilize that. You can't mix that in your tank. So you're just going to kind of have to, if there's only like a limited amount of hydrogen in the chlorine gas, it's only going to siphon up or at least utilize the limited amount of hydrogen, and you'll still fill very slowly. Now, when thrust is needed, plasma pumps through the power plant and is converted into energized plasma. And that's funneled in through the thrusters, creating the idea of thruster shunting, which is great, because now we're going to have the overheat mechanic and we're going to have thruster shunting, which means we're going to be pulling from a unified power pool and a unified fuel source.
Item System 2.0, baby. It's all coming together.
Oh, the game needs it because, I mean, it's so arcadey right now. It is just so arcadey. And as these things get developed into this game, it's going to become harder and harder with these complex systems like MFDs, fuel, power shunting, all of it, to keep the current way that flight is. Because right now, it doesn't mesh with any of it. So every time I see one of these systems, a little bit of happiness comes into my heart.
Yeah, the problem is, though, they can keep the flight exactly the same while still having all these deep mechanics, because...
It won't work.
Well, that's true. It won't work, but it will still be playable in that regard, but it'll be like unobtrusive and cumbersome, and other fancy words that I can't really think of off the top of my head, because it's a sort of live recording here.
Mental note. Get Lightning a Thesaurus for...
I have Google. I could Google some of these things.
And I even said that wrong. I always say Thesaurus. I think it's just Thesaurus. I always say Thesaurus. Sounds like a dinosaur should be coming through my show.
Yeah, there you go. But I mean, the basic concept here is the ships can fly however they want because it's a video game, right? But as you add more complexity, you're adding onto something that's not designed to play with those systems. The systems don't even need to be there because if the game's not designed to use them, or at least use them properly, it doesn't use them properly. So as more complexity comes in, it's not that the game has to change, it's the game that will need to change to incorporate all these complex mechanics.
Exactly, the pacing has to match.
Right.
Now, if you do want to switch fuel types, you have to actually purge your tank before harvesting something different.
Which could be a very big problem if you are, not moving very fast.
Right. And it's something that's very dangerous, and they don't recommend doing it while in deep space. I could see why that is. Now, if you're like decoupled, say, and you're going through that chlorine nebula, I could see possibility of dumping the hydrogen and grabbing the chlorine instead.
Especially if you're low on gas.
Yeah, because you already have forward momentum. You're just basically letting the gas fly into the collector, and then you're good. Now, they have broken up these ships into a little section here to talk about how they're going to interact with this fuel mechanic. We have combat ships, short range. It says here, the in-game equivalent of a carrier-based ship, such as a Gladius and Hornet. These ships will not come with, nor have the ability to equip fuel intakes. Ooh.
Oh, terrible. The fighter, their carrier-based fighters are limited in their range like they are in real life. Imagine that.
Combat long range. These ships like the Vanguard and Retaliator. Oh, we got to say Retaliator.
I said it earlier, so we're good.
Will have intakes as their role requires them to traverse long distances. Exploration. These ships will have fuel intakes by default. Their very nature dictates that they can travel long distances, well away from the nearest refueling location.
I imagine the complexity of an exploration one might be more than, say, like a combat, like long-range combat one, because it's just like, okay, we need fuel, go get some. Exploration might be more like, okay, we need this kind of fuel. Oh, it's over here, and your scanners can pick it up and everything like that.
True, and maybe they can go with the new Netflix Lost in Space, which, by the way, is good, guys. If you haven't seen it, do watch it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
Where they can convert poop into fuel,
which I think is accurate.
Winning. Industrial and transport. Typically, ships have fuel intakes by default, as again, they're required to travel long distances.
Like the Orion and Reclaimer and things like that.
Yeah, basically. Support. Naturally, the Starfarer and most other ships in this career will retain them as they'll often be expected to execute long-distance and extended duration missions. Now, obviously, ships like the Starfarer are going to have the most complex refineries. I wonder if this may be, in fact, the only ship that could even generate quantum fuel, or whatever mechanics that's going to be. But I guess we'll have to find out as that actually gets pushed further along. Competition. These ships will vary depending upon their type. Some ships, like the Razor, feature technology that allows them to refuel, whereas others, like the M50, deal with the issue differently by having larger fuel tanks.
They were saying, like, the Orion, the Reclaimer, I always stumble on that name. The Orion, the Reclaimer, and the Starfarer are quote-unquote end-line ships. Which, for the Reclaimer and the Orion, it kind of makes sense because they're huge. But the Starfarer really isn't that big, so it doesn't make sense that it's kind of like the end of the line. And how does quantum fuel get mined? I mean, we don't know yet. So anyway, I just wanted to get those thoughts so you knew where my head was at here.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, it may need to be refined at a different facility, and who knows, it may be tied to something that's not even gas related. We don't really know yet. There's not a lot of details on what drives it. I mean, it may be to lithium crystals for all we know.
Yeah, the dilithium and I forget what the other one was. There was actually 2 different crystals that were used.
Oh, I can't remember.
I was reading it yesterday, and I can't remember what it was.
I'm sure it'll come to you immediately after we finish recording the show.
No, I'm sure. It'll just be amazing.
On to this week's Reverse the Verse. It's about 52 minutes long, and it was a breakdown of everything 100 series related. So, if you have actually purchased one of these ships or are considering it and want to know more about it, I recommend giving it a watch. Lastly, let's go ahead and break down the Calling All Devs. Question: can ships inside a capital ship perform their function without taking off? i.e. drone control, scanning and shooting out the hangar door? Answer: yes, within reason. You can't put a bunch of terrapins inside Idris to boost scanning power. Question: are there plans for landing aid systems, such as external cameras and real displays of distance to the ground, etc.? Answer: they are planning on additional features to assist with landing, but external cameras displaying render to texture on MFDs are most likely not going to happen due to performance issues it may cause. And that their art guys said, please don't do that.
The art guys?
Yeah, they said please don't do that. Question: the location markers on other sides of planets do not display in different colors. What are the technical challenges preventing this? Answer: they have a couple of ideas that will show that a location is on the other side of a planet, but it's not fully fleshed out yet.
I don't know. How about like a dotted line versus a solid line? There's a concept.
That's a good idea. Hope someone uses that someday. Hint, hint. Question: what's happening with persistence? Ships and cargo are lost upon crashing. Is the lack of persistence a bug or an upcoming feature?
Oh, clearly it's a feature.
Oh, I think they mean is the persistence an upcoming feature, not is the lack of it being a feature.
Oh, of course the lack of it being a feature.
Answer: ship persistence is increasing along with other modes. What they are working on is a client crash recovery system for when disconnected or the game crashes. With the new system, they should be able to better track these ships. There is currently an early version of persistence in the 3.1.2 build, but it does not work 100% of the time.
None of the time.
I haven't had it work once for me yet. At this current time, and they will keep iterating on it. Question: we have not heard of the rovers that come with the Phoenix or the 600i. Are they being made with these ships, or are they a different ship pipeline? Answer: they are currently being developed separately. They are currently not on the schedule to be developed in 2018. And finally, this week on Explore the Verse, Lightning Dragon, my brother Captain Tyler, and myself give 3.1.2 a go and see how it works.
And it works perfectly. Absolutely nothing goes wrong in the slightest.
Nope. It's all good.
Foreboding.
And on Saturday, we're going to have the extra cast. We're going to dip back into Interstellar Rift, and we're going to go seeing if we can kill some bad guys, some Skrull out there in deep space. And on the playlist on Sunday, for Infinity Battlescape, I'm going to start taking out some of the larger ships. So I'm going to take out the smallest capital ship I can afford at this point in time, give it a whirl, and try not to get killed.
Oh, you're gonna die.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be bad. I'm gonna be broke by the end of the thing.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Well, that's about everything for this week's BlastCast. As always, leave your comments, suggestions, and whatnot down below, and we will go ahead and ignore them. No, just kidding. We'll read them.
Like, comment, and subscribe, and hit that bell. It's become a meme now. I mean,
it has.
People say it so jokingly.
And what is the purpose of that stupid bell? You have to subscribe to a channel you subscribe to. I mean, if I subscribe to something, just bring up the videos.
The thing is, when they did one of the changes, they broke the subscription, like the push feed or whatever. And so to fix that, rather than go back and fix the subscribe button thing or whatever, now it's behind this bell icon, which is weird because that existed already. Because there was an advanced setting, so like. If a certain channel was putting a lot of videos out, it had an algorithm that would start like skipping them if you didn't watch every single video. And in your settings, you can go in there and say show all, and basically they've turned that setting into a little bell icon. It's really stupid.
And now you know.
Yeah, and I only remember that because I had to go into the settings and check every single one of my channels because it was like, oh, make sure you go on this. That was before the dumb bell.
And on that YouTube educational experience, we will go ahead and catch you on the next one.
Bye-bye, everybody.
This week on Around the Verse, they talked about stuff. A second here.
You're talking about the 100 series.
No, they talk about 3 different things. I was trying to think of the word origin fell out of my head, so 1 second.